want to take a second to talk to you about underdogs.
Everywhere, this is for you.
Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird game nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco. Let's make sure everybody can hear me. Can we get a mic check in here? I see everybody in the chat already, man. It is Philly the podcast. We about to have some fun, man. Wulf is gonna join us about at 12:30-ish. We'll have him in here, and we're gonna ask him some questions about this Eagles off season, man. I'm excited for it. Richie says, "Red shirts unite." I need to get my red shirt back. I need to go grab my red shirt, button up. I know you guys are missing it, but what's going on, Nina? What's going on, Quezzy? What's going on, Samuel Rowe in the building? That's fan in the house. Yeah, it's a tough off season. We'll see what happens with this season with the Nets, but I'm excited about this off season, man. I just did a show last night with Mike from Philly Talk Podcast. Shout out to him, and we were talking a lot about Jalen Hurts, but one thing that we did bring up that I kind of wanted to bring up on here, honestly, is Dallas Goddard. And I want to know your guys' input. I want to know your guys' opinion. What can we really expect from a Dallas Goddard? He brought him up. He brought up the top pass catchers, right, of the Philadelphia Eagles per PFF. They made their list who was going to have the highest amount of stats, and they picked A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith as the top two pass catchers. So it made me think, like, what is Dallas Goddard on the totem pole, right? Is he the number 2 option, number 3 option, number 4 option? Like, where does he really fall? Are we going to waste a Dallas Goddard? That's really what kind of gets me nervous. You know what I'm saying? Sam says Goddard's nice. His hands are sus. I understand the drops. They came at a tough time. That's really what I don't think that he has like a drop problem. I don't think he's out there dropping every single pass. They were easy catches. One of them turned into an interception that was crazy, and I think it didn't go back for a touchdown because they overturned it and brought it back, but it could have went for a touchdown because he caught the interception. But either way, so it's like about the timing with those interceptions. I don't really look at Dallas Goddard and be like, I'm nervous to throw him the ball on third down. I think that he has a good pair of hands. He's a good player, a very good player at that tight end position. It's just like, are we going to utilize him correctly? That's what really gets me nervous, is what is our plan to integrate him into the offense? Because you look at this team and you look at how we were successful last year and who's taking over, which we'll talk to Bo about a little bit later on, but you look at how this team was successful last year, and you got Shane Stykins now taking over play calling, who was said to have taken over like towards the end of last year. I'm not sure which exact game, right? But he's going to be full-time play calling. Are we going to be a run-first team with 3 or 4 pass options that we're not using? Because if you look at it, just wide receivers, you look at A.J. Brown, obviously. You look at Devontae Smith. You look at Quez Watkins. You look at Zach Pascal, right? That's 4 deep at least. And then you still got a Greg Ward, which we'll see what how you feel about him going into this year. You have a couple young guys that you got fighting for roster spots. Obviously, you got Jalen Reagor. Do you still want to hold on to that? I've been hearing rumblings that this could be his final season, if not off season. So we'll see what happens with that. But what do you do? What is it going to be? Because then you obviously have a top 3 still, at very worst, in my opinion, type running game. How are you going to integrate all this? That's really what's getting me a little bit nervous. I don't even want to say nervous, because it's not nervous. It's really just a question. It's really just like, how do you plan to do that? I think that if you can answer that question, it's going to be a beautiful thing, right? Balance is a beautiful thing in life and work and everything. And on the football field, it's no different. If you can be a balanced attack, it's going to be scary against other teams. They're not going to be ready to handle it. But I don't know. I just want to know how y'all feeling about it. But who we got in here, man? Let me read some of these comments, man. Richie said, are we live? We are definitely live. Quezzy giving the salute with the bird. I like that. They have so many different emojis now. You know what I'm saying? I need to catch up. What's going on, Nina? What's going on? 13 days. I know. This off season went by very quick. This off season went by very quick, and I think it's because the Eagles picked up so many great players. It just felt so good. We were feeling good all off season. I can't remember an off season I felt this good. So, 13 days stigmata. I hope I said that right. But yeah, I'm excited, man. This is the season that a lot of Eagles fans need, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this team is going to become. The Washington football team kick drops that kick drop was kind of ridiculous. It was crazy. I mean, there were a couple times. I think there was a touchdown that he dropped as well, if I'm not mistaken. A couple third down plays that I know he dropped pretty easy, passes. It happens. It's really the timing to me. If those things happen on first down, second down, people probably forget a little bit easier, but they were, the result of the play, obviously, like I said, with that interception. And then it's on third down. People aren't going to forget that. So I think that he's a lot better than those drops. I don't think that those drops are an indication of who he is at all, not by any means. So I think he's going to be a top four tight end, top five at the worst. I've said that, and I'm gonna stick to that. I don't care. I do not care. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. Let's get to 4K before the season. I would really appreciate that. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. Richie says Rager's still my redemption guy, but it's not looking good for him. Bears just traded for N'Keal Harry. Yeah, only gave up a 7th-round pick. Harry was a first rounder. Yeah, yeah, and that's a good comparison to make because we're kind of stuck in that same situation. That's why I said this might be his last off season, but I am pretty sure this is going to be his last season if he's not able to at least crack that top four. If you can't push, I said this last year too, and I don't want to say it happened like I called it because it didn't really, but I said that we should go out there and get a realistic number 2, number 3. Right? We got an AJ Brown, but I'm not even really counting him. I'm counting a Zach Pascal. If Zach Pascal was the only move that we made, I would have felt like that was a move to push Rager. I would have felt like that was a move to kind of say, look, if you can't beat Zach Pascal, we're going to have to figure something out. I feel comfortable with Quez Watkins. I feel comfortable with Devontae Smith. So it's going to be very interesting. If that battle is going to be something very interesting that I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to it. Quezzy says he needs to improve on catching the ball for sure. We just need consistency. He's a very good tight end, man. We know that. He's a great tight end. I really can't bash him. I understand the drops. And I get why that gets brought up. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's hard for me to really sit here and you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I feel lucky to have Dallas Goddard. I'll go that far. Let me say that. I think we could be way worse off. You know what I'm saying? Allow Rager to show his upside. We tried last year, Rome. We really did, Rome. I feel like we gave him every opportunity last year, and he's gonna have another opportunity at least through the training camp. We'll see what happens after that, but at least through training camp, I believe he will get an opportunity again to show us what he can be. But last year, you know what I'm saying? Look, man, fool me. I think Mike said it yesterday. He said it best, man. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not gonna get hype off of preseason stuff. I'm not gonna get hype off that with him, man, because we saw him doing, backflips while catching passes in the back of the end zone, and then he couldn't catch a freaking punt. So it's like I need to see him in the game. If you want to give him that opportunity, I need to see him in the game, and I need to see the improvement for myself before I say anything. But if he just makes the roster and does nothing all year, I think that'll be kind of indicative of what Howie Roseman's mindset was with that. I won't go too deep on that, I guess though. We need to bump the brakes on Dallas Goddard. He is a good tight end, but not a Pro Bowler yet. I don't know. I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I think he's a top 5 tight end. I think he is. So, and how many tight ends go to the Pro Bowl? 2, I think, from each side. So he's either there or he's right outside of it. So I think he's very good, and I think people really kind of are a little bit jaded because we went from Zach Ertz to him. We've had and even you look back at Brent Selleck, you look back at can't believe Chad Lewis. You look at what's LJ Smith. We've had decent tight ends throughout our history. So I mean, look, Dallas Goddard is pretty good, pretty darn good. He's up there with one of the best that we've had, if not by the end of his career becoming the best. So maybe I'm jumping off a ledge there. It's all good though. Everybody needs to jump every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, jump and the net will appear. BMO, what's going on, man? I haven't seen you in a minute. How you doing? Joe Castro, who do you trust about Rager and OTA, the media or the players? You know, I would say this. I think it's I trust certain people in the media. You know what I'm saying? I do trust certain people in the media. I think that they have no reason to lie in certain situations. But when you hear a player give bodes of confidence, that's a good thing. I say it's a little bit of a mixture of both, right? Like if you hear something from media that's not really substantiated by other media or at least other news sources or at least other types of sources that you can kind of trust, then you hear a player come out and say, "Oh, this is BS." Then it kind of makes you sit there and be like, maybe I shouldn't be taking this. Maybe I should. I say this, and it's no disrespect to anybody. I say you got to take everything with a grain of salt because it's opinions. Reporters get that access, and they give the reports that they give based on what they see. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt until you get to see it yourself. Don't base what this team is going to be on by an opinion, by me, by anybody, because that's really what it comes down to. So I know that's kind of a cop out, but it's the truth. You got to have a good base of both. Keep yourself grounded, right? You know what I'm saying? But Rager is gonna be interesting. Rager's gonna be interesting. What's going on, Ryan Rowe? What's going on, brother? He turns his head away from the ball. He does because he's a yak guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I feel with time that will get better. You know what I mean? But it has to get better. You're not wrong for bringing that up at all, Quezzy. You're not wrong for bringing that up. What's going on, Chris? I believe we're going to pass first. If we're going up by 14 in a game, then we'll run the ball to control the clock. We got AJ and D Smith to pass the ball first. My thing is, what if you don't go up 14? We've seen last year, and this is not me sitting here slighting Jalen Hurts. I know that's what's going to, end up happening, but everybody's going to be like, oh, this dude hates Jalen Hurts. It's not that at all. We saw last year, he's not a guy that's going to go out there and throw the ball all over the field, all over defenses, not at least yet. Maybe he's gotten better, but I would not say, and I said this last night again, I would not take a beach towel to the beach and not use it because I didn't want to get sand on it. You can't get nervous about what he's elite at. That's just, it is what it is. He's an elite runner. He can orchestrate an elite run attack. And I think that if you can control the clock, it helps your defense. It helps your offense. Jalen Hurts just makes the throws that he has to. And I think, I just don't think that it makes sense to go pass heavy. Like, I think last year we were like 60-40. Maybe it goes to 55, 35, something like, or whatever. I can't do math, but you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe it goes to something like that, but I don't see it just all of a sudden being, totally pass heavy. I just don't think that we have that. We do have good wide receivers, but I don't think we have the quarterback that really will thrive in that just yet. So I don't know. We'll see though. We'll definitely see. What's going on, Ref Taco? What's going on, Drew? What's going on? We chilling, man. We chilling. You late, better late than never, right? You know what I'm saying? That's all that matters. Unspoken words in the building. What's going on? I think Rager is here for depth in case anybody gets hurt. It's a possibility. That's a possibility. We'll probably keep like 6, right? We'll probably keep 6. Quezzy says AJ Brown asked LB for some. Yeah, I seen that. I seen that, man. That's dope. I'm sure they do watch it. I'm sure they do watch the content. Shout out to all of them, man. That's dope. Yeah, he's all in, man. It's nice to see AJ Brown all in on his quarterback. I know that's his friend. I know that they're buddy buddy and everything. That's cool. But it's a pleasant sight to behold. You know what I'm saying? That all these guys really got each other's back, and you want to see that throughout the season. And hopefully that kind of helps when it comes to maturing together, right? You know what I mean? What's going on, Midwest Eagles fan? What's going on? What's going on, Mitch? How's it going, man? This season will really show the psyche of Rager, just like Carson last year in Philly. Yeah, yeah. Jalen Rager's gonna have to go out there and fight for his position. And look, any competitor is gonna want that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna sit here and say anything slighted about Jalen Rager. I hope he does get way better. I hope that he's that dude. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see it. We'll see what happens. I think that any competitor is going to want to be in this position. They're going to want to be able to prove their doubters wrong, be able to prove the people that don't think they can do it wrong. So we'll see what happens, man. Eagles Relish, what's going on? What's going on? He says, "What's up? Glad to hear from you on this Wednesday. Congrats on your recent success." I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yeah, man. Wednesday's my day sometimes, but I had to come on here, man. We got my man's Bo coming on in probably about 15 minutes or so. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this season. I really am. This season really feels good to me, and it's not about like me sitting here saying, "Oh, this team is an all-star team. This team's going to win a Super Bowl." But we're building the correct way. We've said for so long we wanted to see, maturation. We wanted to see development from these young guys. And I feel like last year that was the proof was in the pudding. We saw from game 1 to game 17 how people were utilized differently. We saw moves, especially on the defense when you went with, Eric Wilson and then you were able to just move on from him before the season ended. I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot that last offseason we weren't just necessarily lied to. They weren't just sitting here kind of blowing smoke up our back end. You know what I'm saying? They're serious about this competition, and that's what I want. That's exactly what I want. That's what the Eagles need. So I'm cool with it, man. Richie says rookie quarterback, rookie coach, so wide receiver last year. Rager was set up for failure. I wouldn't say he's set up for failure, man. I look, if you're gonna get yours either way, there was plenty of opportunities for him to get his. I understand that things weren't perfect, you know what I'm saying, but I wouldn't say set up for failure. I really do feel like people fail to understand that we had a decent offense last year. We were number 12 in scoring, and I understand that towards the later end of the year we really leaned on that running game, but we were still scoring passing touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like we were still being able to move the ball down the field. So it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. You know what I mean? I've said this before. If we stay where we were last year, which I don't think we will, and I hope we don't, but even if we stood where we were last year, which was around, I believe it's number 12. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong. But if we stay at 12, stay in that top 13, top 14, maybe top 15 of the offense, and our defense takes the jump that it should with the talent that it has, we should be a way better team. So I do believe that this offense has, a lot on their shoulders because they definitely got to go out there and perform. Don't get me wrong. But I've said this before and I'll keep saying it, man. I think this defense is a very, very integral part of our success. It really is, man. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got 30 people in here. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 4K. I don't know why I said that whole thing. I felt like I was starting a whole video, but we are on the road to 4K. You know what I'm saying? So bring some chips and stuff because it's going to be a nice little road. You know what I mean? Because then after that, it's a whole nother road. We just getting gas at 4K. You know what I'm saying? Richie says 7-2, 6-3, Dallas first half record. Come on, Castro. Look, I had them ending at 11-6. They usually break down towards the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? They usually don't know how to play once it gets cold in other states because it doesn't get cold that much in Texas. So I don't know why it affects them, but apparently it does. But their cold streak usually starts around that time, and that's what I had happening. I had them get in the beginning of their schedule, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty cupcake. It's pretty easy, and our whole schedule realistically is pretty easy. I mean, I understand it. I don't like to be unrealistic. James is my guy. He keeps it real, so I like to keep it real with him. And that's what I saw, but I had him at 11-6. It's not like I had him at, 15-2 or some crazy stuff like that. Jose says, I think Howie made this roster for a Super Bowl run. Easy schedule, get the first seed, and we have a chance. It's interesting. It really is interesting. We do have a very easy schedule. And I've said, I don't know. I keep on telling y'all, I've said it. Y'all watch, y'all know I say this. But I really do believe like this team this fan base might get a little bit fooled by the easiness of our schedule. If we go through the schedule, and I said that we might win 14 games, realistically, if we're around 11, 12, 13 games, it might not mean that we're that nasty juggernaut of a team. This is a pretty weak schedule that we have and a pretty weak division that we're in right now. So, I mean, we're going to have some dog fights and it's going to be interesting to see us in those. That's really what it's going to, come down to. It's going to be nice if we could see Jalen Hurts maybe win a couple games with his arm, if we can see some stuff like that happen, then, you look at this team a little bit different. It's going to be, for me, the game inside the game. I said this before the offseason even started. The success this year is going to be more based on the game inside the game. Who's improving? Where's our defense at? How is Jonathan Gannon improving? How is this offense clicking? How are they being utilized? All that stuff I think matters more than it did last year. Last year, we were just trying to let kids kind of play on a field and get their bearings, kind of see what they were. We learned a lot of things last year. This year, it's about implementing that, and now it's a little bit more on the coaches and the schemes, right? It's a little bit more about everything within it. It's the game inside the game. It's the game inside the game this year. You're going to hear me say that a lot this year. I think Kaiser White is going to be play big for this team. Yeah, this linebacking core, I don't remember the last time that we've had a linebacking core like this. You're looking at a Nakobe Dean that was supposed to be a first round talent in a pretty heavy defense draft, where they were kind of eyeing defense more than anything. In my opinion, he slipped for health reasons, apparently. We'll see what happens. I can't wait. I really can't wait. This is the time where it's like hard for me to really predict because there's so many guys. It's like sometimes I forget that Hassan Reddick even can play linebacker, that he, kind of got into the NFL at that position. You forget that you have all these guys, all this depth at so many different positions. You forget you got Taron Jackson now pushed down to like number 4 on the depth chart. You got Milton Williams, who was getting snaps on the outside. So it's like so many different peoples. You have Patrick Johnson still on this team, Jacoby Stevens, who we've had on the channel, and he was, working a lot with Nick Rallis, the linebackers coach. So there's so many different ways that this defense can go. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to talk to Bo a lot about the offense, but defense is definitely something I'm going to have to, pick somebody's brain about, maybe get him back on here and pick his brain about that, or maybe throw a couple questions in there about the defense. I'm positive if we stay relatively healthy and our defense improves, and of course Jalen improves, look out, we're really talented overall every day. Even depth, yeah, I 100% agree, Chris. I 100% agree. Look, this is the if part of the season. You're going to hear a lot of people being like, oh, if was a fifth, if is the if game, this, that, and that, and the third. This is the part of the season where you do that. This is the part of the season where you predict. This is the part of the season where you project. So I'm going to say if, because that's all we got right now. 13 wins. Chris, I could see that. I could see, like I said, I had them winning 14 games. The only games that I could see me being wrong about, I think, was the Arizona Cardinals game and maybe like the Titans game. You know what I'm saying? I realistically think that we're going to sweep. We're going to split with the Cowboys, but I think we'll sweep the other 2 division opponents. So I don't know. I feel really high about this year. I really do. Quasi says, I just want us to sweep the Cowboys. I can't stand Cowboys, honestly. I agree 100%. I'm not going to lie. But I said this before. I think that if we beat the Cowboys twice and we sweep the Washington football team and we beat the Colts, I'll be happy about this year. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously you want to make the playoffs and everything, but like I'll be excited if we can do all that whilst making the playoffs. I'll be very, very excited. If we make the playoffs and don't do any of that, I'll be happy we made the playoffs, but I'll be a little salty that we had to, lose to those guys. Like I just don't want to lose to Carson. I don't want to lose to Frank Reich. I don't want to keep hearing the Cowboys talking out there, rear end about all this. Oh, we got 4 games on you, and not make, and not do anything in the playoffs again. It's like, come on. I don't want to have to count to 30 on the Cowboys. I really don't want to have to count to 30 on them. You going to any games, Joe? Hopefully, I'm gonna see where where the wind takes me. I got a lot of things going on this season, but obviously I'm gonna cover the Eagles a lot. I'm gonna be doing it live from a bar out here called Tampa Joe's, where it's like a big Eagles fan base and everything. So yeah, I can come out here, check out the game with me. That would be dope. I was talking to some content creators that they was thinking about coming down for a game or something and chopping it up live. Drew Johnson says, I really feel high on the season, but I think that the washed ups will be even better with Wentz. Don't expect them to win the division or make the playoffs. I think they'll be better with Wentz. I think this is the best, team around Wentz that he's had. I think ever. I mean, I know you could say that the 2017 team was pretty good, obviously, because we won a Super Bowl, but you look at the 2 wide receivers he has, they're young, they're electric. You know what I'm saying? He has a really good offensive line. He has good running backs out there. He has a good defense. He has a good coach can kind of, walk. He can kind of hand walk him, right? He can kind of walk him along and not really have Wentz getting fired by the media. Ron Rivera is really good at kind of protecting his quarterback and his team. So we've seen that last year. It's going to be interesting. That is the tale of the offseason. It's going to be interesting, y'all. It is going to be interesting. We won't lose to Minnesota to our home opener. We better not. Ref Taco says Arizona, Minnesota, and the early one to Dallas. I said Dallas. Arizona, I don't think we losing to them. They don't got DeAndre Hopkins. That's one that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that as well. But either way, we are going to get into this, man. Like I said, we do have my guy Bo Wulf in the building. So let's get right into that, man. Let's not waste no time here. Oh, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I cannot complain. I cannot complain. I know you're coming off vacation. I hope you're refreshed. I hope you're feeling good. You know, the Eagles are about to get back into full swing. So I hope you're excited for some football. But how has everything been going on your side? How's everything at the Athletic going for you?
Everything's all right. Yeah, 2 weeks to camp, as you just said. So, soaking up the time now before we say goodbye to the family until January.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so I'm ready. We're gonna hop right into this. I know you're a busy man, but I want to ask you, man. The Eagles had a very good off season, right? You know, but now everything is starting to really go fast, right? We're gonna start getting some news. So, I want to ask you, what's the first thing you're kind of looking for, like out of this team, out of the NFC East? You know, once camp does open up.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing is Jalen Hurts. It's
Yeah.
sort of the obvious answer, right? But so much of what the Eagles did this offseason is to put all the pieces around him so that they can best evaluate him as a potential franchise quarterback moving forward, and so that they can be as good as possible this season. I think there's no doubt that they are right there with the Cowboys on paper for favorites for the division. So adding AJ Brown to the top of that weaponry, and that makes Devontae Smith, a nominal number 2 instead of sort of being force-fed into a number 1 role. Dallas Goddard has a little bit less attention. Quez Watkins can open things down the field. It really should make this offense as good as possible. And because their schedule is so easy again, on paper at least, I think there are reasons to be very excited for Eagles fans.
Definitely. And I'm glad you brought up the wide receiver position because I feel like it's a very interesting position this year, especially for Eagles fans. We're not used to having, I feel like, this much talent. It's nice. But you know, you got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you brought on a Zach Pascal, Quez Watkins. How do you think this is going to shake up? Because below that, you still got guys like Greg Ward, you still got Jalen Rager, you still got guys that have some, skin in the game on this team. How do you see this wide receiving core shaking up, even given the fact that it was kind of a run heavy team last year?
Yeah, I mean there are only so many roster spots, right? And my guess is that between AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Zach Pascal, those top 4 spots are spoken for, and then it's whether there's going to be 1 or 2 other spots for the likes of Rager and Greg Ward, and maybe even this undrafted rookie Britton Covey to sort of fight for. He's a guy from Utah who is a return specialist, and we know that Jalen Rager has struggled as a returner at times. So I think that Rager, for one, is fighting for a roster spot. I think if the Eagles got any kind of reasonable offer for like another disappointing draft pick from another team that they could put at a different position, I think they would probably accept that. Greg Ward is a guy who, he's got a vested contract now, so my guess is he's more like they release him heading into the season, and then he's available. They know that they can re-sign him if they need a spot. But I mean, there's only so much to go around, and as you said, this offense was so run heavy down the stretch last year that it does seem like AJ Brown might not get quite as many targets as he would like. Devontae Smith might not get quite as many targets as he would like, and on down the line, it's one of those things where if you're winning, I think everybody sort of accepts that they're part of the process. If you're losing, then people start to get a little bit more worried about their numbers.
Yeah, and you did say, whether they bring on 5 or 6, something that can obviously, help decide that is the running back group, right? We have again a nice little core of talent. I guess the real question I know a lot of fans want to ask is, should we, bring our Jordan Howard jerseys out, or is he not getting the call back? But how do you kind of see that the running back room kind of shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always going to be sort of half expecting that Jordan Howard's going to re-sign at some point. So I think those jerseys, yeah, don't zip them away just yet. Keep them handy. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Right now, the only sort of big back they have is Kennedy Brooks, the undrafted guy from Oklahoma. It's going to be interesting at running back. I think that Miles Sanders entering a contract year, there are incentives for both him and the team to give him a little bit more of a workload if he can stay healthy, which he has not proven that he can do for a 16, 17 game season over the past couple seasons. For Miles Sanders, he wants to have a big year going into free agency. For the Eagles, if they're not going to re-sign him, they might as well give him those carries so that he gets those carries while he's with them and not on somebody else. And so I think it could be a big Miles Sanders year. Obviously, when you talk about this offense, the way it's structured, because of the offensive line and because of the attention that Jalen Hurts attracts as a potential runner, it's a very running back friendly scheme, right? It's a running back friendly offense. I think if Miles Sanders can stay healthy, I think he should have a big year.
Definitely, and hopefully, I love Miles Sanders, and I feel bad that people were talking about is this, maybe his last year, maybe it's at the time for him to move. I hope not. I hope not. Hope he can make some impact. But that brings me to my next question. I mean, we did talk about last year, right? And it was a heavy offense, especially. Well, I maybe I should say exclusively towards the end of the year. We were historically running it, right? So we see that Shane Stykins now taking over. There was rumbles that he kind of took over towards the latter part of the year. I don't know too much about that, but realistically, my question is, what should we expect from Shane Steichen? Is he that guy that we saw? Is his offense that guy that we saw last year towards the latter part? Or is it going to be a little bit more mixed up with the pass? How do you see that working out with Shane?
Yeah. Now, from our reporting and from what Nick Sirianni has said, and what Shane Steichen has said, Steichen did sort of take over the play calling in game down the stretch last season, and the way that they explain that is that it's not like you're playing sandlot football and drawing plays in the dirt, right? It's still Nick Sirianni's offense. He's creating the menu, and Shane Steichen is sort of picking from those Sirianni plays, picking from what to order from that menu, and he's also talking through things in a big picture perspective with Sirianni during those games. I think that the Eagles' goal, I think what they've tried to do, and heading into the season, is create a situation where they can be flexible, game in, game out, and have the capability to spread things out because they've got a bunch of weapons. If the opposing defense is loading up against the run, and if the opposing defense is worried about their passing game, then they can run the ball down their throat. Now, that's certainly much easier said than done. And we'll see if that actually happens. And a lot of that depends on if Jalen Hurts takes a little bit of a leap in terms of reading defenses and getting them rid of the ball quickly. If that happens, I think the Eagles should be, a top 10 offense. If not, then maybe it is sort of regressing towards that run-based offense we saw down the stretch.
Okay, that's interesting. So it'll be fun to see how this happens because we have so many options and a lot of options not only on the offense but on the defense, which kind of brings me to what I wanted to ask you. We talk about Jalen a lot as fans, as people that cover the team. Jalen's the main focus because he is, the team. The quarterback is the face of the team most of the time. But the big concern for me at a topic that I bring up a lot is Jonathan Gannon. I get a little bit worried that we have all these players, but I didn't see a lot of maturation or diversity from his play calling last year. Maybe that's fair or unfair, but we'll see, I guess. But how do you feel about Jonathan Gannon going into this year now that he does have all this talent? What do you see in this defense?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a similar year for Jonathan Gannon as it is for Jalen Hurts. I think what the Eagles did on offense is pretty similar to what they did on defense. Now they can decide whether Jonathan Gannon is the guy, right? Because they gave him everything that he should need to be a good defensive coordinator for this to be a very good defense. They upgraded at every level, and they gave him the kind of pieces that you would think that he would need to make this a more versatile defense, which he wanted last year. He wanted it to be able to ping pong back and forth between three odd fronts and even fronts, 3-4 looks, 4-3 looks. And they added Jordan Davis to play in the middle of the defensive line, which gives them 4 very good defensive tackles. They added Hassan Reddick to get after the quarterback for a defense that was second worst in the league in sacks and sack rate. And obviously they added a couple good linebackers and James Bradbury to pair with Darius Slay. That's improvements at every level for a defense that was, I think, 25th in DVOA last year. So I'm with you. Now Jonathan Gannon's like his MO is to stop big plays, and the Eagles did do that last year. And so to that degree, he was successful. Part of the problem is if you're going to do that, you have to be good in the red zone, right? And the Eagles were, I think, the 4th worst defense in the red zone last year. That's the kind of thing that usually just rebounds year over year because it regresses to the mean. And so maybe just on that alone, the Eagles will be better. But I think that if the Eagles are not a top, 10 or 12 defense this year, I think that the Eagles might be looking for a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, and I'll bounce this off you. I think it's kind of a weird situation for him too, because I feel like if he does really good, he might be fielding calls as a head coach. I've heard, and if he does really bad, he might just be looking at taking a step backwards. How do you feel about that? Do you think he might be in that weird Lou, or is he not really looked at as a head coach anymore, at least for this upcoming year?
Yeah, no, my colleague Zach Berman likes to say that he thinks that this is Jonathan Gannon's last year with the Eagles, one way or the other. Either they do well and he gets a head coaching job, or they move on. And he was close to getting the Texans job last year. He, I think, interviewed for 3 different jobs. I think he is a sort of a dynamic personality. The players like him a lot. And when I talk to him, I'm impressed with his football acumen, and he's got a good sort of winning personality. But if the results on the field don't match that, then then you sort of have to start to wonder.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you're a football mind, so I kind of wanted to ask you about a certain player. Obviously, the most recent of our signings, if I'm not mistaken. I, I know the chat is going to roast me either way I say it, so I'm just going to try and roll it off the tongue. But Jaquaski Tart from
You
the
got it.
San Francisco, there we go, I did it. But what can Eagles fans kind of expect from him coming on over from the San Francisco?
I think whatever you get out of Jaquaski is sort of bonus. He's a player who is a starting caliber player when he's healthy, but he has not played, I think, more than 12 games in a season in each of the past 5 years. So he is definitely injury prone. I think that there's a good chance that he's here more to be ready in case Anthony Harris takes a step back or gets injured than he is to replace Marcus Epps. The book on Tart is that he's good in the box and is a little bit limited athletically. I think the Eagles, it sort of adds to the idea that they can put together whatever defensive looks Jonathan Gannon wants. I think, right now their third, or I guess before signing Tart, their third safety would have been Kayvon Wallace, and he hasn't been able to prove much over the first 2 years of his career. So now you have the ability to maybe play 3 safety looks or rotate a little bit and spell those, Harris and Epps. But I think that Tart is like, if you remember last year, they signed Andrew Adams from the Bucks, and then they cut him at the end of camp.
Yeah.
Like if somebody beats out Jaquaski Tart in camp, I don't think the Eagles would be super upset about that.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. And I want to ask you this as well. It's kind of maybe a little off the wall of a question, but like I said, we talk a lot about Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is in a very, if he does better, I think is something that a lot of people say. If he's better, if he improves, this offense goes with it. I think the offense takes a big step if he takes a big step. Do you think on the opposite end, on that defense, there's a guy like that? Is there a guy that you're looking at and you're saying, if this guy takes a big step, this defense is going to follow with it?
That's a good question. I would say the guys that come to mind to me are one is Josh Sweat, who took a nice leap last year. If he can get to like a really dominant level, like a 10 sack or plus level, I think that would really help the defense, and obviously that would balance out Hassan Reddick coming from the other side, who you're expecting to be in double digit sacks. The other guy who jumps out to me is Nakobe Dean. Like if the 3rd round pick can get on the field and be as good as the Eagles think he's going to be, and as impactful as he was, for the Georgia defense, and all of a sudden the Eagles have like a good linebacker for the first time since probably Nigel Bradham in 2017. That would go a long way in changing the face of the defense too, because that's where this defense got killed last year, was those short middle range completions over the middle of the field, giving up so many 3rd downs. I think if Nakobe Dean can step up in that capacity, then maybe that would make a big difference for this defense.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens with him over camp, because I know early on, obviously a couple months ago, it's kind of really just walkthroughs and everything, especially with us. I know we didn't go the full extent, but I was hearing a lot of good things about him, talking about even Green Dot, possibly him being the kind of voice of the defense. We'll see how much that grows and how far that goes. But I'm excited about this defense overall. And bringing up Nigel Bradham, there's a lot of positions on this defense that I've never seen, put together this well in a long time. One of them being the cornerback room. You bring in a James Bradbury. I liked what Steve Nelson did last year. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he was elite by any means, but I think that he did his job. What do you see, from a James Bradbury now pairing up with a Darius Slay? How good do you think that this secondary can really be for the Eagles?
Yeah, and I think I'm with you on Steven Nelson. It's interesting because the way that the defense played, there was not a lot asked of Steven Nelson. It was like, don't get beat deep, and he didn't get beat deep, so that was fine. It goes back to Gannon. I'm curious if, having James Bradbury changes the way that they're willing to play. Are they willing to be a little bit more aggressive on the outside? Send more blitzes because they're not as afraid of getting beat deep. It still feels to me like that's not exactly Gannon's DNA, but now you have all these tools all over the place where you should be able to be a little bit more aggressive. And at safety, like, I think we were expecting the Eagles to maybe add somebody else other than Jaquaski Tart and improve somewhere. Like, that's the one spot that they didn't really like knock out of the park this offseason, right? But the flip side to that is, again, the way that they play on defense, those safeties play so deep. Their job is just to not get beat deep. Maybe that's not as premium a position for the Eagles as it is for other teams in the league.
Definitely. And now this question, it might be a little bit unfair. I know it's still very early, but you look at this team on paper and whatever the little bit that we have been able to see with them together. In your opinion, what do you think is kind of the floor ceiling for this team? What is the definition of success for the Philadelphia Eagles coming into this season, in your opinion?
I think anything less than the playoffs is a huge disappointment, given everything they've done this offseason. And realistically, I think, like, there's some nuance, but if either, Jalen Hurts doesn't take the kind of step that would make him be, the Eagles comfortable in him being their longtime quarterback, or they don't advance beyond the first round, I think they would probably characterize that as a disappointment. I think their range is I mean, the schedule is pretty easy. Now it's football, so, like, a couple key injuries means that, your floor could drop to, 4 or 5 wins. I don't think anybody, heading into the 2020 season had the Eagles as a, 4-win team. But, like, the realistic range for me, I would say, is somewhere between like 8 and 12 wins. That's my guess. Right now, I have them at 11, but I'm also, like, the contrarian in me. Everybody's getting a little bit too excited about the Eagles, and so now I'm sort of feeling a little bit less confident.
I hear you. You got to balance it out, right? You can't. When when the NFL media and all that were talking, we're really, really high about the Eagles. It was getting me nervous. Now they're coming down a little bit. I like it. Don't put us out there. Don't make everybody watch our film. Let's surprise some people.
Right,
That's what I
exactly.
like. The other day, I put them at 14 wins. But, like, I didn't even
14.
mean to. I didn't even mean to, Bo. You know what it was, is that I was going game by game, and I do a show every weekly with my guy James, who's a Cowboys fan, because we like to give, opposite perspectives. And you sit there and you look at the games, and, like you said, this is an easy schedule, and it's hard to really sit there and be like, there's no way we win this game. Looking back at it, I understand more so around the probably 10 to 12. I think that's where we'll end up. But it's hard to really look at these games and just say we have no chance. Whereas last year, you look at the little stretch between, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buccaneers. It was like games that you're looking at, like, if we can just get out of this, at 500, we'll be happy. I don't see that this year. So I was way blindly, maybe a little bit too excited about the team. So 14 isn't that's not what I'm betting. I'm not putting my
Right.
money on 14, but I don't know. I got hyped for it. So the last question I want to ask you about this team and this off season is something I don't think people were really talking too much about, but there was a lot of shakeup in that front office, and now it's kind of settled down. The dust has settled a little bit. Do you think it's kind of just going to be business as usual? Do you think these guys are going to be looking to change this team in any type of way? I mean, we saw a new word font. Like, it's just weird timing,
Right.
Are we going to get the same Eagles that we're used to as far as the front office decisions go, you think?
I think for the most part, I mean, the main decision maker is still Howie Roseman. He's not going anywhere. He hasn't gone anywhere. The people below him have changed up a little bit. As you mentioned, they lost 3 different people in the front office to assistant general manager jobs over the course of the offseason. And so what they've done is restructure things a little bit. They've redone the personnel department. There's no longer a guy at the top there like Andy Weidel was. And then they've promoted 2 guys, Alec Hallaby, who was, known as the guy who was in charge of the statistics department, the analytics department. But I think that sort of undersells what his impact has been in the organization over the past couple of years. And then John Ferrari, who's sort of like a mysterious figure from the outside, because they don't really tell us what he does. But from what we understand, it's sort of like a lot of the like special projects for the coaching staff, sort of like the synergies between the personnel department and the coaching staff. He works closely with the coaching staff. Um, those guys were both promoted to assistant general managers with the Eagles, and I think it's still like this is Howie's show. It's Howie's ride. All of the moves they made this offseason, even the ones they didn't make, like, trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, trying to trade for Russell Wilson, trying to sign Marcus Williams. Those are all things that, have Howie's fingerprints all over them, and very much like his MO of moves. And that's why, Jalen Hurts is on the clock this year. No matter how much the Eagles want to downplay that, the Eagles have 2 first-round picks and a lot of cap space going into next offseason. And, we know Howie Roseman well. We know that he's obsessed with finding the quarterback. And if Jalen Hurts is middle of the road this year, you can rest assured that Howie Roseman is going to be aggressive about trying to find a top-caliber quarterback next offseason.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree 100% with you on that. It's going to be an interesting offseason, or season, I should say. I'm very, very excited. Last time we had you on, it wasn't really the happiest of times. I feel like, the vibe is a lot better right now. We're not looking at a team that we're questioning. We have talent. So I'm very, very excited. But, Bo, is there anything you want to tell the people to be ready for as far as work coming out on your end, what they can be watching out for?
You know what? Next Thursday night is our annual Ospreys, our annual award show on Birds with Friends. So check that out. It's got a special hook this year, and then after that, we'll be ready to cover training camp every day in, day out at the Athletic. So, yeah, check it out.
Definitely, man. Bo, I appreciate your time so much, man. It's always a pleasure. We'll definitely get you on during the season and just talk some more Birds. But I'm gonna let you go, man. I appreciate your time, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, Joe.
So that was Bo Wulf. I always appreciate him coming on the show, man. He's a pleasure to have on. Look, I'm excited about this team, man. I know I said this 20 times, but just hearing him talk about the diversity of talent that we have and who it's now on the coaching staff, I feel comfortable with that. There's been so many times that we look at this Eagles team and we say, look, these players have to step up, they got to play out of their range. We don't need that this year. We need these guys to do their job. But shout out to everybody that's in the chat, man. Shout out to all 30 of you guys. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. I appreciate your guys' time so much. I appreciate Bo Wulf's time so much. Other than that, man, I will be back Friday. We got Jake Arthur from Locked On Colts. We're going to talk a little bit about that Colts matchup with James for Best of Enemies. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly. And we are out here. Peace, you guys. Peace. I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing
Everywhere. This is for
Yeah.
you.
Fly Eagles Fly.